Oops. Okay. Excuse me. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm Rabbi Scott Kramer. Welcome to those in our sanctuary and online. So glad you've decided to join us. Such a happy evening, bittersweet, as we welcome and say shalom to the Haglers, but not goodbye, but see you later, so to speak. We are praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem, And we will begin on page 11 with Psalm 95. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladunai, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladunai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. Alechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladunai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladunai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekad mafana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, bizmirot naria lo. We continue in the English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands formed the earth's deep. Mountains, crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted, like the people at Merivah, like the time at Massah, in the desert when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way, so in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Arba'im shanakut bedor, va'omaram toeh levavhem, v'hem lo yadid rachai, asher nishmati v'yapi, im yavaon el menuchati. Page 13, Psalm 96. Ashiru ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru Meyom Leyom Yeshuato, Sapru Vagoyim, Kivodo, Bechol Amim Gifliotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, O Mehulol Miyob. No ra'u al ko Elohim lai 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 kiko Elohe ha'amim elilim v'Adonai shamayim hasa hod v'hadar le'ifanav oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho havu l'Adonai mishpachot amim havu l'Adonai kavod v'oz havu l'Adonai kevod shemo seu mincha uvo l'chatzrot of lai 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 shtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh chilu mipanav kol haaretz imrum vagoyim Adonai malach avtikum tevel balatimot yadina hamim b'meisharim yismechu hashamayim v'tagil haaretz ayiram hayamu melo yalo sadai v'chol asher bo lai 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 aziranenu kol hatzayar Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot aretz, lishpot tevel b'tzedek, v'yamim be'emunato, yalai la lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yalai la lai la lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai. We continue page 15. With Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the earth be glad. The many distant lands rejoice. Clouds and thick darkness surround the divine. Righteousness and justice secure God's throne. Fire goes before God, consuming besiegers round about. Flashes of lightning illumine the land. The earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the Master of all the earth. The heavens tell of God's righteousness, and all the nations see God's glory. Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Or zaru latzadik ulishkolev simcha, simchu tzadikim badonai, vahoduhu lezecher kadishom. Page 17, Psalm 98. Mizmor shiru ladonai shir chadash, ki niflaot asa hoshia lo yemino. Uzaroako, Ochoadia, Adonai Yeshuato, Leena Goyim Gilad Sid Kato, Zachar Chasto Ve'emunato, Levei Yisrael, Ra'u Cholaf Se'aret, Et Yeshuat Eloheinu, Horiu Ladonai Kol Haaret, Pitzchum Veranenu Vizameru, Zamru ladonai bechinar v'chol zimera, v'chatrot tzrot v'kol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, yiram mayam u'meloho, tevel v'yoshveva, neharot yimcha uchaf, yachad harim yiranenu, lifnei Adonai kivo, lishbot haaretz, yishbot tevel b'tzedek, Ve'yamim b'meisharim, yalai la 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 la, yalai la 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 la, yalai la 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 la, yalai la 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 la, yalai la la la, yalai la 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 la, yalai la 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 la, yalai la 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 la. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Dina, I want to have you come up. I'm going to have you do the next psalm for me. Told you I was going to embarrass you. You can put your book here and use mine. We turn to page 19 and Psalm 99. See you on the screen. Go ahead.
I'm not sure which one this is.
Just do the English. Okay. On this page and this page.
Okay. Adonai reigns, nations tremble, the one enthroned amidst the cherubim makes the world quake. Adonai is great in Zion above all nations. They shall acknowledge your name, saying, Great, awe-inspiring Holy One. A sovereign's strength lies in the love of justice, and you forge the paths of truth, judging Jacob righteously and justly. Exalt Adonai, our God, bow down before God, our Holy One. Moses and Aaron among God's priests, and Samuel among those who called upon the divine name, called to you, and you answered them. You spoke to them from amidst the cloud. You kept your covenant and the law you gave them. You answered them, Adonai, our God. You were a forgiving God to them, even as you punished them for their transgressions. Exalt Adonai, our God, and bow down at God's holy mountain, for Adonai, our God, is holy.
Thank you, Dina. You want to do the rest of the sermon? I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We continue page 21. Please rise, Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid, havu ladonai b'nei Elim, havu ladonai kavod vos, Havu l'Adonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, ela kavod hirim Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar. Kol Adonai shover arazim, v'yishaber Adonai et ozei halvanon, v'yarkidem kemo egel, Levanon v'siryon kemo ven rehemim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, v'yechesop yarot, Uvehechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Yeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. You may be seated. We continue with Lechadodi, page 23. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'nibur echad, hishmiyanu elam yuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, shemu tiferet v'litila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh memachshvat chila. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzi mitocha hafecha, Rav lach shevet biyemek habacha, v'uyachamo alaychem la. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Hitnari me'afar kumi, livshei vigdei tifartechami, Ayad ben Yishai beit alachmi, karva el nafshi giyala. Lecha dodi likrat la penei Shabbat nikabela. Hitoreri, kiva ore kumi uri, shirda beri, kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Lo tevoshi v'lo tikami, ma tishtochachi u'ma tehemi, bach yechasu ani eyami v'nivneta ir al tila. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. V'hayulam shisa Shoasayich v'rachakuko mihivalayich yasis alayich Elohayich kimchas chatan al kala. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. Yamin usmo tifrotzi v'yet Adonai taritzi ayadish ben parti v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. We rise as we first face towards the west, towards the entrance of the synagogue, as we greet the Shabbat bride. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvetzala toch emunei am segula. Boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nikabela. You may be seated. We continue page 27 with Psalm 92. Asher, I'm going to have you come up. Yeah. Nobody escapes. You can use my book. Okay. Just start here. To there. Okay. Start right there. Yeah, because they can't hear you because it's online.
It is good to thank you, Adonai, and sing to your name most high, to proclaim your love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. Finger the lute, pluck the harp, let the sound of the lyre rise up. You gladden me with your deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, how subtle your designs. The arrogant do not understand, the fool does not comprehend this. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw.
All right. Tzadik tamar yifrach ki erez balvanon yiske shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva deshenim verananim yeyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlatavo. Sorry, I forgot your book. Page 29. Psalm 93. Excuse me. Adonai is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you were enthroned, you are eternal. The rivers rise up, Adonai. The rivers raise up their roar. The rivers raise up their waves. Above the roar of the vast sea and the majestic breakers of the ocean, Adonai stands supreme in the heavens. In your house, beautiful in its holiness, your testimony endures Adonai for all time. Shabbat Shalom once again. Thank you all for joining us for the celebration of the beginning of Shabbat with Kabbalat Shabbat. I'm so glad to have the Hagler family join with us this evening, and I welcome all of those online. Oh, we have an international group tonight. That's good, as well as everyone in the sanctuary. On page 109 of your Siddur, you can go ahead and look it up. You'll be perplexed. There is a strange text that we read as prayer during the preliminary section of the Shacharit or morning prayers. I say strange because it is a list of 13 rules of logic that the Jewish Bible is to be interpreted with. While that is confusing and daunting, I don't at the moment want to go into the history of how it found its way into our Siddur. Rather, I want to point out just one of the 13 rules of logic. It's the second one, and it is simply called the Gezerah Shava, which translates to, even more perplexing, a general rule may be inferred with similar phrases into two different texts. So the easy way to understand that is If you find a phrase in the Torah in Hebrew, and it sounds similar to another phrase you heard in a different, the rabbi somehow will bring some meaning between those two particular sections, okay? So rather than give you many examples of this, I will just give you one relevant to this week's Torah portion, which is called Shalach Lecha. That's the hint. Keep in mind that we are reading from Bamidbar, or Numbers. As I mentioned that phrase, Shlach Lecha, it might trigger recognition of a similar phrase in Bereshit, or Genesis. You might question how a two-word phrase from Genesis would have anything to do with a two-word text from Numbers. You would be right, of course, to question this. However, the rabbis of old make up their own rules as to how to interpret the Torah, and the one they use now is called the Gezerah Shabbat. Let's take a few moments and talk about what is going on in Numbers and then what is going on in Genesis around these two similar phrases. In Numbers 13:1, our portion of this week, Moses sends meraglim, spies, one person from each tribe to reconnoiter the promised land. 10 of the spies come back with a very subjective report, and they go directly to the people, not to Moses. Which is what Moses wanted, them to give him the report, and it was not an objective report. Just the facts, ma'am. They tell the Israelites, not Moses, that there are giants in the land, and their cities are fortified and well defended. We are grasshoppers in our eyes, as we must be to them. This constitutes a bad report. Joshua and Caleb counter with how the land is filled with milk and honey, and bring back grapes and figs to show how fertile that land is. They also say that God will go before us and conquer its inhabitants. The Israelites believe the bad report and revolt to Moses, causing more tsuris and eventually delaying their entrance into the promised land by some 40 years. The phrase used by Moses sending spies is Shalach Lecha. Those that are familiar with the Hebrew of the Torah should immediately be reminded of a similar phrase, Lech Lecha, from Genesis. The story there is the beginning of the Abraham narrative, where God commands Abraham to Lech Lecha, to simply pack up and leave his parents and family and place of birth and go to a place that he has no knowledge of. He is to go with no army or great numbers of people. He is not to look back, but simply go to where God wants him to go, and he does go with no questions or comments. Complete trust in God, that he knows what is best and will protect Abraham from any harm. Complete submission and contentedness, as Abraham showed at the Agudath, the binding of Isaac. Here in our parsha, back in Numbers, the Israelites have an army and great numbers of people. They have 603, 550 men as their army. So they have great numbers of people and are leaving no one behind. Their entire family is with them, and there is no place to go but forward. And yet there is lack of trust. There is no trust that God will watch out for them and protect them. I am struck by this Gezerah Shabbat, the similarity of expressions used in these two pieces of narrative, and it must be there to teach us something. There are several ways I can use this teaching to reflect on our own lives. With regards to Irene and I, we have moved twice in our lives. I've moved a few more times. once to Los Angeles when I entered rabbinical school, and then to Montgomery to become your rabbi. Both times, we lech lechad rather than shalach lechad. We made both moves with complete trust that God and our hearts were doing the right thing. Yes, we did question, and we did a bit of spying. In both cases, we already knew that we would move. We simply were looking for an apartment or a home, and then plunged into the unknown. I am reminded of Psalm 112, a psalm that some women say to their husbands on Friday nights at Shabbat dinner. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. Sometimes you just have to take that first step and trust that you are doing the right thing. Tonight we are honoring a family that has lived in Montgomery for a long time. How long have you lived in Montgomery? Has it been 7 years? Thank you. I thought it was 10. 7 years. They prospered in their own fields of study, and their children succeeded in school with a few bumps along the way. Ari Hagler, of course, got tenure at Shore University, teaching Islamic studies, and is very respected by his colleagues. He served on the board of Agudath Israel, Etz Ahayem, and was slated to become our next president. Oh, now I know why you're moving. I considered him then, when he moved here, and now, not just as a congregant, not just a friend, but family. The same with Alana, who is a world-class artist. She was on the tenure track at Alabama State University in the art department and has had many appreciative and successful students, some of which are here tonight. She has painted works of art that hang prominently at Troy University and in my living room. She designs artwork for the Department of the Treasury on coinage, both commemorative and in regular circulation. So not on Shabbat, but look and see if you have any quarters in your pocket. You might find in your possession. If you see, am I allowed to say this? Okay. If you see Sally Ride on a quarter, Alana designed that coin. And many more are coming out, but I have been sworn to secrecy. Alana, like Ari, are regarded by me as family. Did I mention that they are both polyglots? They know as many spoken languages as I do computer languages. Theirs are much more useful, however. Dina, their youngest, is beautiful, funny, has a great smile, smart, maybe a little bit too smart, and now a successful thespian at her new school at UCLA. She is a perfectionist, almost to a fault. Asher, their oldest, has also the most incredible smile. Not sure what's behind it, and is very precocious. His interests are limitless and loves to talk about all the projects he is involved with, both in and out of school. He is excelling at math with the help of his mathematician grandfather. His natural curiosity about the world is without bound, and the enthusiasm with which he attacks every subject is infectious. I have enjoyed every second working with Asher and with Dina, and I'm going to go off script just kind of a remembrance of when you first came here. You were, well, a lot young, 7 years younger, right? You were little. And what I remember, like when Daphne, who's now sleeping, first came here, she was also very young. And you all came up on the bima to join me for services in the other room, okay? And You were very curious about everything. Dina loved to dance on the bima. I love it. Excuse me. I loved it. And when I prayed the Amidah, I invited all three of you to join me under my talit, which I still, to this day, remember with a big smile on my face. So Ari, Alana, Dina, and Asher, you have a choice to make. Should you shalach lecha or lech lecha? Should you go with doubts or just jump in with complete trust that God and your hearts are taking you in the right direction? I believe that you are following Abraham's path, not the Akedah part. Leaving your family, us, not because you want to leave family, but because the next phase of your lives is about to begin. And you are going with complete trust in each other and that you are doing the right thing. It is still hard to get rid of family that fast. I will be checking in with you on a weekly basis as I continue to work with Asher and Dina as they practice for their B'nai Mitzvah on December 17th. And I will be coming out to Los Angeles to officiate at their special life cycle event at Hebrew Union College on December 17th, so you can't get rid of us too soon. I wish you all the best. I know you will succeed in Los Angeles as you have in Montgomery, and trusting in each other, and will keep you on the right path. So I'm going to ask the four of you to, I would like to confer on the four of you a blessing that parents give to their children on Friday nights. So if you will join me in front of the Aron Kodesh. Please rise. Actually, hold on a second. I have to change the cam. Somebody will say, you didn't change the cam. Okay. And then we can't see. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka, Yisad panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and guard you. May God turn his face to you and be gracious to you. May God watch over you and grant you peace and blessing for all time. And may the journeys you take in life be fulfilling, and never forget where you came from. Never forget the friends and family that you're not leaving behind, but sometimes you don't get to see on a daily basis. I will be thinking of each of you daily.
Amen.
Amen. Then we can give a group. Apologize for my coughing. I haven't been feeling well for a while. We're going to go ahead and continue with Ma'ariv. Remain standing. Page something. There we go. Page 39A. We rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'oed. You may be seated. Baruch et Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzivaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dust. Page 40. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachvenu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha le'olam voed ki heim chayenu v'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla v'yavatcha tasim mimenu la'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha, v'hayu advarim ho'ele, Asher Anochi Mitzavecha Hayom Alvavecha Vishinanatam Levanecha V'dibarta Bam V'shivtecha B'veitecha Uvlechtecha V'derech Uv'shachpecha V'kumecha Ukshartam liot al Yadecha V'hayu L'totafot B'ninecha Uchtabdam Mezuzah Beitecha Uv'isharecha V'haya'im shamo tishma'u. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta lehem yasu lehem tzitzit al kanveh vignehem ledoratam v'natnu al tzitzit takana petil techelet vayalachem letzitzit oritem oto uschartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem notam v'lo tatu racharei levavachem v'yacharei nechem asher tem zonim achareihem Laman dizgaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etachem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. Page 43a. Ve'emunos kozot v'kayam aleinu. Page 44. Umalchuto b'ratzon kibalehem Moshe v'nei Yisrael chanishira b'simcha rabba v'yamaru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedor ba'kodesh narati lo osefele malchutecha u'v'necha bo kiyam lifnei Moshe zeli anu v'yamaru Adonai imloch leolam voed v'ne'emar ki v'Adonai et Yaakov u'golod miot chazak mimenu baruch et Adonai ka'al Yisrael. Page 45. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Ushmotzetenu vein l'chaim u'shalom yatav y'olam ufos aleinu skat shlomecha Baruch Adonai, Abohet Sukkot Shalom, Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. We rise, page 46. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Vayom hashvi shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba b'yom divrach yirutei Yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedechol Beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman koriv v'meru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam ni'omel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalau shemei dekudisha b'richu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushpechata v'nechemata damiran b'yoma v'yimaru amen. We remain standing for the Friday night Amidah. Pages 47 through 52. This is our private time to have a personal conversation with God, pouring out your hearts in prayer, either in Hebrew or the best language of the heart, the best language, the language of the heart. Page 53. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzva'am vayechal Elohim bayom hashvihi melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvihi mikol melachto asher asa vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvihi Vayikadesh oto Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto, Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto, Asher bara Elohim, Asher bara Elohim la'asot. You may be seated. Second paragraph, page 53. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Hoi El HaGadol Gibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Haaretz Magen Avot Bidvaro Mechaye Meitim B'Mamaro Ha'el HaKadosh She'ein Kamohu Hameniach Li'amo B'Yom Shabbat Kodsho Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem Lefanav Navod B'Yirav Afachad V'Nodeh Lishmo B'Chol Yom Tamid Me'ein HaBerachot Elahot Adon Ashalom Mekadesh HaShabbat Umvarech Shavi Umeniach Bikdusha Le'am Bikdush Neoneg Zecher Lemase Bereshit Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Ritzei v'menuchatenu Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha V'tein chelkenu b'toratecha Sahabenu mituvecha V'samchenu b'shuatecha V'taheli b'levdecha b'emet V'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu B'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodeshecha V'yanuchu vo Yisrael Mekadeshei shemecha Baruch ato Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Yitkadav Yitkadash Shemecha Ba B'yamad Divrach Yirutei V'yamlech Malchutei B'chayechon V'yamechon V'chaydecho Beit Yisrael B'agalav Izman Kari V'maru Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach V'yolam Ni'ol Me'al Maya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kodisha b'richu leila min kol birchada v'shata tushbachada v'nechamata damiran b'yamav v'yimaru amen titkabel tzloton v'ton nechoyzkan b'vinishma v'yimaru amen yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol yisrael v'yimaru amen oseh shalom b'imrahamav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru. Amen. We rise as the ark is open for Aleinu, page 56. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gdula liotzer bereshit shalo asanu kagoye haratzot v'lo samanu kamishmachot adama shalo sam chilkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lefnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu Shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim imal u'shchinatu zo b'gave meromim hu Eloheinu ein od hem et malkeinu evesulato kakatu b'torato v'yadat hayam v'hashivota elavavecha Ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim mimal v'al haaretz mi tachat einod al ken nechavelech Adonai Eloheinu lirot meher b'tivach eduzacha alikalulim min haaretz ha'elilim karati karetun lataki olam b'malchut shaddai v'chol b'nei v'asar yikru v'shmecha lahavner elecha korish haaretz yakiru v'yedu kol yoshev tevel כי לך תכרע כל ברע, תשבע כל לשון. לפניך אדוני אלוהינו יבחר ויפול, לכבוד שמך יקר יתנו, ויקבלו כולם את עול מלכותך, ותמלוך עליהם מהלם ועד, כי המלכות שלך היא עולמי, עד תמלוך בכבוד. כך כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר ויהי אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. You may be seated. This week we will observe yard sites for Nathan Feldman, Jack Arrighetti, Paul Rudnick, Rebecca Tarika, Mel Allen, yes, that Mel Allen, Irene Heller Rosenblum, Larry Allen, that's a brother of Mel Allen, Kate Kessler, Sadie Shapiro, Sophie A. Kulik. Those observing yard site and those who mourn, please rise, page 58, and join me for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabba, v'yoma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayichon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv imahu, amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'elam u'me'el maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha barichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yoma v'yimahu amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemayim v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimahu amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imahu amen. You may be seated. I have lots of Mel Allen and Larry Allen stories, but I'll save them for another time. Thank you all for joining us for Kabbalat Shabbat. I just want to say once again, we're so very honored to have the Haglers with us. Hopefully not for the last time. Hopefully they'll visit Montgomery on occasion. I will certainly visit you in Los Angeles. Tomorrow morning we will continue services at 9:30 a.m. Tomorrow evening we join together with the Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah on Zoom at 8 p.m. If you would like to join and you did not get the link, please email me at ravmalki@gmail.com. That's ravmalki@gmail.com, and I will get you that link. And I want to welcome everyone in our sanctuary. We have a full sanctuary, and we also have a full online group, which includes 2 people from Brazil. So welcome. Not sure how you found us, but I'm glad you did. And I am going to give, and let's see. We will have morning minyan Monday morning at 7:15. I will not be here next Thursday. I will be visiting and trying to deconstruct a Saturn V missile at Huntsville next week with my son. The only person in the world that I know will do that with me as we go through that museum. Next weekend, we welcome Chazan Neil Schwartz, who will be with us for Shabbat. He will be covering for me when we go on vacation, July 11th through 24th. Neil will be here running services Friday night and Saturday, along with online. So, but we welcome you. Welcome to come next week and meet him, both Friday night and Saturday. So at this point, I'm going to give Ari, you want to come up and say a few words?
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you all for being here, and all of you online, thank you for being here as well. When we first knew we were going to be moving to Alabama, which was the first time we had ever set foot in the South, one of the first things we did was scope out the synagogues, and we called and spoke to Rabbi Kramer, and Ilana and I came out for a visit. We went down to Troy, and we looked at Troy, and then as we were driving up, we got Rabbi Kramer on the phone, and he immediately put us in touch with Joy and Dickie, who many of you know, and they dropped everything and met with us and gave us an impromptu tour, not just of Jewish Montgomery, but of Montgomery in general and Pike Road. And it was just the first of many times that people in this community made us feel very welcome. And so I want to mention that leaving here is one of the hardest things, one of the hardest parts of this, which we know is the right move for our family, but that doesn't mean it's not painful and difficult. As for Rabbi Kramer, he called us family, and he beat me to it, because I was going to say the same thing, and we'll talk about that later, how he got a copy of my prepared remarks. I can't do justice to Rabbi Kramer and all he has meant to our family. They say when you're trying to give an impression, the best thing to do is to show, don't tell when you speak. And I think nothing sums up how we feel about Rabbi Kramer better than maybe a few months ago when we told him that we'd made the difficult decision to move to Los Angeles. He said, I'm happy to keep training Asher and Dina, but since you're going to be out there, I completely understand if you want to have a rabbi out there do their bar and bat mitzvah. And I told him in very strong language that was not an option, that we wouldn't even consider such a thing, and we insisted that he would be their rabbi, because he's our rabbi, and he will always be our rabbi. And I just can't say enough good things about him, and I don't have a bad thing to say about him. So, and he also mentioned Dina dancing, which was another of my points that he stole. And Dean, why? Because it's a fantastic memory. That's why. When we got here, one of the first things that happened was Dina, at 3 years old, came up to the bima while Rabbi Kramer was singing, and started dancing, barefoot, as I recall. And it meant so much to us that so many people in this community came up to us and told us how much they appreciated that. And it was great, because it was how Dina expressed her Judaism at the time. She didn't know much Hebrew, she didn't know the prayers, but she had this feeling that she wanted to dance. And everyone who came up to us, we really appreciate that. And all the many ways that those of you who are here who have made us feel so welcome, I just wish I could express to each and every one of you how much I appreciate it. And I want to say especially thank you to Barbara and to Joy and Dickie and to Gerald, who could not be here, for arranging this evening. We will miss you, but not forever. We will come visit, and if you find yourselves looking for a place to go, vacation time, I recommend Los Angeles. We would love to see you, have a meal with you, and just be with you again. So thank you all. Rabbi, we love you very much. We love you all. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. I have nothing to add to that, other than I'm so excited to, actually I'll be coming to Los Angeles with Adina, so, and she'll keep me on my toes, I'm sure, as we see old friends in Los Angeles and new. And I just want to also, again, reiterate thanks to Barbara Handmaker, Dickie and Joy Blondheim, and Gerald Leibovitz for the onig for tonight. First one we've had in a while. We had a dinner a couple weeks ago, but this is the first time. But we're going to start having onigs and kiddushes again. Just want to let everybody know. Hopefully a little schnapps on Saturday after services. Here we go. And now I'll get Jeff to come back. Look, if you come for food, stay. You might even have a little prayer. That's the old joke, right? Moshe and David go to shul. Moshe comes to pray to God, and David comes to be with Moshe. So come and be with family. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. We will conclude our service with Adon Olam, page 211. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol leva ado yimloch nora v'hu ayam v'hu oveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni am shilo lahachbira beli reshit beli tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'hu eli v'chai go'eli v'tzor chevli b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanosli minat kosi b'yom mekra minat kosi b'yom mekra B'yado avkid ruchi b'yet ishan v'ya'ira v'im ruchi geviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo ira. And I stand corrected, we have somebody from Mexico, so we have all the Americas covered. Shabbat Shalom.